Hi there, baby boomers. I'm John France, author of the For the Love of Boomers book and for our YouTube podcasts like the one you're just watching now. Today, we're featuring our very first Boomer Harley Davidson motorcycle rider guest, Frank Habib. Morning, Frank.
Morning, John.
Bob's a valued friend. We haven't known each other a long time. We met through a Harley owner here, another Harley owner here in Wisconsin, and but we're really enjoying our friendship. Now, here's a little background on Frank. He has a Bachelor of Science in Social Welfare. He has a Master of Science in Engineering Management from MSOE here in Milwaukee. He's had many different professional experiences. He's been the interim executive director of Economics Wisconsin. He's been the president of Monument Health, president of his own firm, Frank Habib and Associates, vice president of development of the MSOE school here, and others. And he's also been a master volunteer. For the last 55 years, he's volunteered in fundraising or fiscal management, different roles with Village of Menomonee Falls. Has been a board member of Presbyterian Homes of Wisconsin, a chairman of the board of that organization. Has been involved with Muscular Dystrophy Association and also Chamber of Commerce. So lots of volunteer activity. Frank is a husband, he's a father, grandfather, and a great friend to many. So welcome, Frank.
Thank you.
And I'm going to bring up a picture here. And you can talk to it if you wouldn't mind.
Well, the one where it says president, that's where I was the president of the Monument Health Foundation in Rapid City, South Dakota for a couple of years. And that was a very exciting time in my life. The middle picture is when I was at MSOE. That's in front of our Zamboni. I was giving a tour of our hockey center. And you'll notice the name says Holtz on there. Well, it was called the Holtzoni because the Holtz family donated that device to the school. And then the right picture, as you look at it, is me on a ride to Prairie du Chien with some fellas. And one of the fellas captured me on the bike, and we had a great day. It was a wonderful day. You can see the sun is shining, and we're having a great time on the way to Prairie du Chien.
Wow, what fun. Looks like a great bike.
It was wonderful. It was a great trip. It was a nice day, and it was a great day to ride.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Well, let's get into the meat of this. We're talking about really adapting to the aging process and going forward boldly, and that's what this is all about. So let me ask you a few questions.
Okay.
How has aging changed your life? And how has it changed your dreams, your life goals and plans?
Well, it's funny you asked the question about how aging has changed. What I think about aging is the fact that one thing I have today that I didn't have, let's say 20 some years ago, was perspective. Now I have a different perspective, and the beauty is that you can look back on your life and see the things that you really enjoy doing. You can see the things that you didn't like doing. And now at this stage of my life, I can do the things I really enjoy doing.
Well, so how have you adapted? I mean, clearly things are different. We move a little slower, a few aches and pains, but we've adapted. You've adapted very positively. How do you manage to adapt?
Well, I think what I have said to you before was my goal is to wear out, not rust out. And so,
So great.
my my style has has not changed in terms of my attitude. One of the things that's really important is, as regardless of what age you are, it's you're in charge of managing your attitude. And I'll give you an analog here. When I had open heart surgery a number of years ago, they said to me, how do you want to deal with this? I said, well, here's the deal I'll make with you. You manage my pain and I'll manage my attitude.
Mhm.
And they said, okay. And so I had a whole different perspective on healing. They had a whole different perspective on how to handle me because I did not restrict anybody from calling me or visiting me after that surgery. And there must have been 50 or 60 people stopped by to see me. And my point was, I needed that. I needed the interaction with people because I was sick, but I didn't die. And I knew that I was going to get out of there and go back to what I enjoyed doing.
Great. You're a people person. I can see that, throughout everything. You know, you volunteered for so many things. Why has volunteering been such a big part of your life?
In the bulk of my career, I was traveling a great deal. So I couldn't commit to regular volunteering. And I was never able to do those kinds of things that other fellows could do. So when I basically retired, I said, I'm going to do those things that I never had the opportunity to do. So I started volunteering. And of course, one thing leads to another. And somebody hears you're okay at this and they call you and say, would you do this? And so that's what happened. So I just started volunteering. I enjoy it very much.
Was there someone in your life that inspired you to into volunteerism? Um,
I don't know. I have worked over the years professionally when I was working with a lot of volunteers at the university and other places. So I saw some of these men and women give of their time selflessly. And I thought, that's amazing that they're that busy running companies and yet they have the time to do this on behalf of others. So I couldn't pick out one person, but there are several over my lifetime.
do our peers inspire us. That's part of what being part of a community
Right.
does for us. So you've been pretty involved with the Presbyterian homes. When and why did you decide to get involved with that?
Well, it's interesting because the Presbyterian homes built a facility just around the block from us here at our home. And the original plan was to put a Walmart there. I didn't think that was a very good idea. It just didn't fit the neighborhood. It was not the right place to put a 24-hour Walmart in a residential neighborhood. So I started organizing some of the neighbors to say this isn't a good idea. Well, it didn't pass, obviously, the village guys. And so the Presbyterian home came along and said, we'd like to put a retirement community here. I thought, that's a pretty good idea. I'm a real fan of intergenerational communities. And so I went down to the hearings and I spoke out in favor of it. And lo and behold, a month or two later, the chairman of their board at the time came to see me and said, "Hi, we want you on the board." And that was 2000, January of 2015, and I spent 10 years on that board.
That's great. You know, Frank and I had lunch a week ago or so, and he shared with me that he was about to give a speech to a senior men's group on aging, and I fell in love with a lot of the key statements that you had to say because you gave me a copy of the script. Lots of life value statements in that speech. Would you mind sharing some of those with the crowd?
Not at all. One of the things that I said to these gentlemen, and they range probably from mid to late 60s to probably early 80s, that I said, "You're not done yet." The theme was, "You're not done yet," and and again, you could see the looks in their faces. What do you mean? We're in a retirement community, and my point to them was, wisdom doesn't have a time clock. Wisdom doesn't stop. I mean, you have experiences that you have built over your whole life. It's time to share those and continue those processes and share them with others. And I asked them as a group, there was probably 22, 24 people there. And I said, how many of you still have grandchildren in the area? Of course, obviously, most of them did. And I said, what do you tell them about your life? What stories do you share? What successes and failures do you share with them? And how are you leaving a legacy? You build your legacy every day. It doesn't stop when you turn 65. And you could see the lights go on in the heads that they probably hadn't thought of it at that level. And my suspicion is they're probably going to start some of that now. And so it was a really great morning.
I have the speech in front of me. One of my favorites was purpose doesn't retire.
No.
I love that one.
Well,
I think
regardless of your stage in life or whatever you're doing, you still have to have a purpose to get up, to move around. When I was hiring a lot of young people in my career, I always said this about young people. I said, I'm looking for people who don't wait for Friday, but who cannot wait for Monday.
yeah. Love it. Oh, I love it. Your other one of my favorites is your voice still carries weight.
Yes, indeed.
What did you mean by that?
Well, the fact of the matter is, for example, when you're with children or grandchildren, they ask questions and, of course, they want you to give them the answer they want. But sometimes you have to give them the answer that fits the situation. Because I can give you an example. When I was 48, my daughter was 16. And it was one of those days when she knew everything. So I got tired of this and I said, you know what? I've been 16. When were you 48? So it's perspective. It's what kind of perspective you can bring to the table. And that's why I believe in that and why I use that when I'm mentoring or working with other people and say, look, my data set could be a little bigger than yours or yours could be bigger than mine, but we need to share that and bring something to the table that's going to work.
Love it. Yeah, love it. Your perspective is so valuable. And if you don't give it to them, who's going to?
That's exactly right. And who wants to die and not leave anything from a standpoint of legacy or memories? That's not my goal. Not at all.
Okay, I'm going to read back to you one of your other statements that I love. You said, as a wind-up, you're not too old to learn something new. You're not too old to be a good friend. You're not too old to fall in love with life all over again. How great is that?
Well, again, if you see every day as a gift, then you have to be thankful for that gift. And being thankful for that gift means that you use the gift every day. I mean, you can use it once a day, 10 times a day, doesn't matter, but use the gift.
Love it. So a quick question. Do you recommend volunteerism to others?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I have talked to some of my fellow retirees and said, you have a skill set that's so unique. For example, some of these guys are accountants, attorneys, and they just stop. I said, why don't you do something where you can use that skill set? For example, like SCORE, retired executives. Use your ability and your skill set and your background to help some of these young entrepreneurs not make the same mistakes you did, or at least lessen the impact of those mistakes. And it's amazing. And I find that these guys are so successful, but yet they're so reticent to do that, John. And it bothers me a little bit why they're reticent to do that. I just don't understand it.
Well, that's why you're here to encourage them.
Yeah, I guess so.
If you plant a seed in their mind, it might grow into something.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what these videos are about. We're trying to plant seeds, in people's minds about, boldly going forward, in the aging process.
Mm-hmm.
And I get such a kick out of, your involvement with Harleys. I know you're very active with that. And my understanding is you actually lead large groups of Harley riders. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, at the university when I was there, I'm not a golfer. And I knew that being in Milwaukee, a lot of executives rode Harley Davidson because it's the home of Harley Davidson, Milwaukee. And I decided to start looking at how many did do that. And so we created an executive motorcycle group at the university for vice presidents and above. And what we did was we took tours of companies in Wisconsin and rode to them and took tours and learned about their businesses. And it also exposed the university to these other companies. So on any given time, we would have somewhere between 20 and 30 or 40 riders. And we did this 4 to 6 times a summer. And these executives would give up a day, go tour another business, and then the university would get exposed. And we rode all over the state. We rode all over the state. And I still lead groups every Sunday, weather permitting. And I've been doing that for, probably 20 plus years. And we have anywhere from 6 to 12 guys on a Sunday. We ride all over and enjoy ourselves, have lunch, and come home.
Awesome. So tell me about your Harley. What model is it?
I'm riding a Street Glide Special. I enjoy it very much. I ride about 4,000 miles a year these days, and it's the thing I do and enjoy, and it's my way of getting out and enjoying the time and having time to think and breathe and look around and enjoy the scenery.
How much does it weigh?
About 750 pounds.
Well, that's a pretty big thing to ride. When do you think that might become a little too much weight? Have you thought about a three-wheeler?
Well, yeah, yes, we all think about three-wheelers at some point, but as long as I can hold it up, I'll be on 2 wheels. But if I cannot do that, it'll be 3 wheels. Yes, indeed.
Oh, good. And it'll be a Harley, right?
Absolutely, John. Absolutely.
I love your shirt that you're
Thank you
wearing
very much.
today. That's great. Okay, one more final area. I think it's clear that you have good friends. I know you have good friends, and I know that you're listening to them and you're trying to understand how they're doing and so on and so forth, so that you can be a good friend to them. I was wondering what you thought about what is the best way for seniors to stick together?
Well, find things that you like doing and find others that like doing the same things. So, for example, our writing group, it's amazing how long some of these fellows have been in the group. For example, this year, the 2 oldest gentlemen in our group, one is 83 and one is 85. We
Wow.
had 2 men. We had 2 men. One is deceased who stopped at 87, and the other now is in a retirement community, and he stopped at 89. So again, the writers range from probably the late 40s, early 50s, all the way up to the 80s now, and we just all enjoy each other's company, and we enjoy doing it, and there's no pretense at all. We just have fun.
Having ridden a motorcycle a little of my life, I can so totally appreciate that. And the wind in your hair sort of thing is a real deal.
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you, Frank, for coming to be with me today. You no doubt are a master adapter, and I hope that you'll come back again. As always, when I wind up these videos, I remind people that the bottom line is we have to all adapt as our world changes and boldly go on. And I try to remember people always to take good care of themselves. And I end with telling people it's your heart that takes you places. And because I believe that. So I'll wind up for today and say bye-bye for now. And Frank can do the same.
Thank you. Bye, John.
Bye-bye.